If cognitive decline runs in your family, this might be the most useful 10 minutes you spend this week. Hi, I'm Michael, a nationally board certified health and wellness coach that focuses on brain health. Dr. Rhonda Patrick just dropped a finding on the Huberman Lab podcast that stopped me cold. She says that 9 minutes of hard movement per day, not a workout, not a gym session, just short bursts spread across your daily normal routine can cut your risk of dying from any cause by 40%. But here's what no one in the comments is talking about. The mechanism behind those numbers is blood flow. And blood flow is the single most important thing your brain needs to stay sharp as you age. I pulled the actual study, I read it. I'm gonna walk you through what it says, what it does not say, and why it matters if you are thinking about your brain or your parents' brain. Then I will rate her suggested actions.
Vigorous, intermittent lifestyle physical activity, VILPA studies. Have you heard of those?
Are these the exercise snacks?
They're unstructured. They're unstructured, and not everyone likes the word exercise snacks. I mean, I kind of like it, but the unstructured exercise, they're the moments in your life where you're taking advantage of everyday situations to get your heart rate up, to move. And so that could be, I'm playing with my new puppy and I'm sprinting around with my new puppy. I'm, chasing my grandkid around. I'm playing tag, or my child. I'm sprinting up the stairs to get to my office. I'm running to catch the bus. I'm moving, right? And so researchers, and there have been several studies on this now, researchers use accelerometers rather than just relying on these questionnaires, which are, as you know, extremely unreliable. I mean, it's very hard for people to remember how much exercise. You sitting here asking me about my exercise. I mean, there's always so much, that you can be accurate when you're trying to recall that. So these accelerometers are worn on people's wrists, and they're measuring like fast movement, the movement, right? And so thousands and thousands, like hundreds of thousands of participants. There's lots of data now showing that people that are doing these like short bursts at least a minute long, but up to 3 minutes, right? Where they're moving. I'm saying they're getting their heart rate. They're actually not measuring the heart rate in these days. They're moving faster with intent, right? They're jogging, or they're not. Of course, there's the cases where they're actually exercising, but the short bursts of it, they're doing the things that I just mentioned, and it's having outsized effects on health outcomes. So, for example, individuals that do on the high end, so they're doing 3 minutes of this short burst of an unstructured type of exercise snack, and they do it 3 times a day. So it's a total of 9 minutes a day. Okay, this type of activity, and it's considered more vigorous because the intent to move, right? That's more vigorous, even though they're not measuring heart rate. That's associated with a 40% reduction in all-cause mortality, 40% reduction in cancer-related mortality, a 50% reduction in cardiovascular-related mortality.
Wow.
9 minutes a day.
That is Dr. Rhonda Patrick. If you do not know her, she has a PhD in biomedical science and has spent the last decade translating dense research into plain language. When she flags a study, I pay attention. What she is talking about is something researchers call VILPA, Vigorous Intermittent Lifestyle Physical Activity. In plain English, short bursts of hard movement that are already part of your day. Taking the stairs, for example, carrying a load of groceries, walking fast across the parking lot. Dr. Patrick is pulling from a specific study, and let me show it to you. This is the paper published in 2022 in Nature Medicine. That is one of the most respected journals in the world. The title, Association of Wearable Devices Measured Vigorous Intermittent Lifestyle Physical Activity with Mortality. I know that's a mouthful. I'm showing you this so you can look it up yourself, share it with your doctor. This is where the data comes from. There'll also be a link to the study in the description below. Here's what the study did. They took 25,000 adults from the UK Biobank. Every single one of them was a non-exerciser. They did not go to the gym. They did not play sports. They did not do structured workouts. Researchers strapped accelerometers onto their wrist and tracked their movement for almost 7 years. They were looking for one thing: do short bursts of intense movement every day affect how long you live? And the answer, it was yes. And the numbers, well, they were not small. People who had 3 bouts of vigorous movement per day, each lasting just 1 to 2 minutes, had a 38 to 40% lower risk of dying from any cause, and a 48 to 49% lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. 3 to 5 times a day, 1 to 2 minutes each. That is where the 9-minute number Dr. Patrick is talking about. This study measured mortality. It did not measure cognition. I want to be clear about that. But the mechanics that explain these numbers is blood flow. Vigorous movement pushes blood through your cardiovascular system. That includes the blood vessels in your brain. The research on cognitive decline tells us something very important here. Reduced cerebral blood flow is one of the earliest measurable changes in the brain before Alzheimer's symptoms appear. It shows up years before memory loss, years before the diagnosis. The brain uses 20% of your body's oxygen. It depends on blood flow more than any other organ. When that blood flow drops, the brain is the first thing to suffer. So when Dr. Patrick says short bursts of vigorous movement are associated with a 48% reduction in cardiovascular mortality, that is not just about your heart. Your heart pumps blood to your brain. The two are deeply connected. Alzheimer's runs in my family. I cannot change what it has already taken, but I can change what happens to me. And when a study says the same mechanisms protecting your heart is also protecting your brain, I will lean in. I need to be honest with you though about what this study does not tell us. This is an observational study, not a randomized controlled trial. That means it shows association, but not necessarily causation. It does not prove that exercise snacks will prevent Alzheimer's. It does not prove they will save your life. It shows that people who move vigorously in short bursts throughout the day had a significantly lower mortality rate over 7 years. It has not been replaced at scale with this specific design. And it studied non-exercisers. If you already work out regularly, this data may not apply to you the same way. I'm telling you this because I think you deserve the full picture. The data is strong, but it's not settled. Both of these things can be true at the same time. The blood flow connection to the brain is well established in the research, but this specific study did not measure cognition. I'm connecting the dots that I believe are worth connecting. What I'm telling you exactly where the dots end. If you're watching this, there is a good chance you're thinking about your brain. Maybe a parent, maybe about yourself. I'm 49. I go to the gym 4 days a week, but this study is not about the gym. It's about the other 23 hours in the day. I was at the airport last month, running late for a connection. I walked right past the moving sidewalk and just hustled. By the time I got to the gate, I was breathing hard. I wasn't trying to be healthy. I was just trying to make my flight. But that counts. According to the data, that counts. And then I started doing it on purpose last week. I take the stairs at my condo 2 at a time. I do air squats between phone calls. When I go for a walk, I pick one block and walk it fast. Not jogging, just fast, breathing hard by the end of it. If you're watching a parent's memory change and wondering what you can do for yourself, this is one of those findings that feels possible. It's not expensive, it's not complicated, it's not another protocol to add to the stack. Just move hard for a few minutes, a few times a day with intention. That is something you can do today without spending $1. Now here's my rating of this activity. So for affordability, it gets a 5 out of 5. This costs nothing, $0, zero equipment. We're using the movement you already do. Next, ease of implementation. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. You do not need to learn anything new. Take the stairs faster, carry groceries in one trip, walk 1 block at a pace that gets your heart rate up. You can start that today. And then lastly, evidence strength. It gets a 4 out of 5. It's a large sample, it was a long follow-up, and it was published in a really reputable magazine, Nature Medicine. But I'm holding back a star because it's observational and has not been replicated at scale. The blood flow to the brain health connection is well supported in other research, but this study did not directly test cognition. The data is strong, but I want to see more. The overall implementation score is 4.7 out of 5. That's one of the highest scores I can give because the cost is zero, the effort is minimal, and the science behind it is solid. If you're looking for things to add to your brain health plan that require no money, no extra time, this is it. This scored a 4.7 out of 5. If you like this, please subscribe to the channel. I rate health advice from the biggest voices in the space, so you know what's worth your time and you know what's not. And there's a link in the description for you to sign up to the newsletter because I've seen it. That's where I go deeper on the studies and what I'm actually doing with the data in my own life.